then. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. All right, what time is it? That's my alarm.
Your Honor, whenever you're ready, you got position number 7, Mrs. Herswig.
Hello.
Okay, I am, I'm ready. Good afternoon. Let's see, is this your client, Ms. Gant?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Good afternoon, Ms. Hersberg. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we are conducting by video to help prevent the spread of the virus. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes.
Thank you. You've been charged in case 22 CR 001777F with battery family violence. Good afternoon, Ms. Gordon. Is there a history?
Yes, Your Honor. The GCIC indicates the defendant has no criminal history on file. She does meet criteria for unsecured judicial release through pretrial. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Thank you. Afternoon, Ms. Tortorello.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Good to see you.
You also.
Thanks. The state's recommending a $4,500 surety bond. The conditions are that the defendant have no contact with the victim, her husband, David Herzweig, and that's spelled Herzweig for the record. That she stay away from the incident location at 9305 Blue Jack, that's one word, BLUJACK Lane in Roswell, Georgia. That you take a one-day anger management class, no weapons, no drugs and alcohol, and no new violations of Georgia law. Your Honor, on March 28th, 2022, around 7:31 p.m., an Officer Ramsager of the Roswell Police Department responded to the incident location, 9305 Blue Jack Lane in Roswell, in reference to a domestic dispute. The caller, the victim, David Herzweig, advised that his wife, the defendant, had kicked and hit him. The officer arrived at the scene and spoke to the victim, who stated again that the defendant had kicked and hit him multiple times. More specifically, the victim said he had been kicked on his right shin and struck on his right arm and right side of his torso. The victim demonstrated to the officer what the defendant had done by swinging his right leg from right to left and keeping his leg at shin height. The victim then showed the officer how the defendant struck him by raising his right hand above his head, and then he swung it straight down. The officer then spoke to the defendant, who said she only patted him on his left shoulder and denied striking him at all. The defendant said that she could not kick him because of how small she was. The officer then spoke to the victim and asked him to show the officer where he was struck. The officer observed a bruise on the victim's lower bicep. The victim advised he had an audio recording of the incident, which was placed for the officer. In the audio, the victim can be heard saying, quote, "Please don't kick me. Don't kick me." The defendant responds back, "I hate you so much," end quote. The officer then can hear a loud slap, and the victim is heard saying, quote, "I have to call the cops again. You just hit me and kicked me with a stick," end quote. The defendant and the victim are married. They live together and have a child together. And all these events did occur in Fulton County, Georgia. Your Honor, I understand that the defendant qualifies for signature bond. However, we are strongly opposed to this due to the nature of what occurred here and the injury that was sustained by the victim. We are also concerned that she can intimidate the victim while she's out on bond. It's her husband, and she in fact knows where he lives, as they both live together. And for those reasons, Your Honor, a $4,500 surety bond is more than reasonable for this case. Nothing further.
Have you spoken with Mr. Herzweig?
No, Your Honor, we have, let me double check my notes here before I say anything on the record. We had not had contact with the victim. And for that reason, Your Honor, also to add, we are opposed to a no violent contact for that very reason.
Thank you. Ms. Gant?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Gabriella Herzwig is 34 years old. She has been in the Atlanta area for 7 years with her husband, along with her 4-year-old son. Your Honor, we are opposed to the stay away at 9305 Blue Jack Lane. Ms. Herzwig informs me that she is a stay-at-home mom and has been so for the past 5 years. She states that she relies on Mr. Herzwig for all of her expenses, and at this time, she does not have an alternate address. Ms. Herzwig completed high school. She also has a business degree from community college. She denies the allegations. Again, she denies striking him. She states that she was more so acting in self-defense. She states that he has been abusive in the past to her, and that he doesn't want to leave the home, and therefore has been calling the cops on her. I did have the occasion to speak to Mr. Herzwig, and he, with regard to his wishes for contact, he states that yes, he wants contact. With regard to the stay away, he said that he was not sure. So again, we are opposed, as this is her only place to live. However, we will defer to the court's ruling. In light of my client's history of no convictions whatsoever, I am requesting a signature bond, Your Honor. Thank you. And would ask for no violent contact and no stay away.
And Your Honor, whatever your decision is, the state does ask to please impose a no contact order. The victim has not reached out to us. And for that reason, Your Honor, we do feel we have not heard from the victim, even though opposing counsel has.
Well, it sounds like he doesn't want contact. At least he doesn't want her back in the residence at the present time, which I think is, given that it's only been a few hours, not a bad idea. So it's going to be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial, 1-day anger awareness, no further contact at this point with Mr. Herzwig. Stay away from the 9305 Blue Jack Lane address. She can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings that she might have there. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Herzwig.
Thank you, Your Honor.
What do we have next?
Position 2, Mr. Cartwright.
And after that, Your Honor, we have Attorney Barber. His client is in front of you.
I'll take courtroom 2, then I'll go back to the South Annex.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, good afternoon, Mr. Cartwright. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we are conducting by video to help prevent the spread of the virus. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Cartwright, you've been charged in case 22 CR 001770A with battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Gordon?
The defendant has 10 cycles beginning in 1990. He's a multi-state offender with arrests from the states of Florida and Georgia. Last arrest was September of 2019 for battery family violence in Thornton County. That case is open under 19 MAGC 05717. One prior misdemeanor conviction outside the 10-year period. Defendant does meet criteria for unsecured judicial release through pretrial. Nothing further, Your Honor.
The open battery family violence, is he
That's
is he on pretrial for that?
Mr.
Oh, Your Honor.
Please remain silent.
Your Honor,
Hold on, I can't hear everybody at one time. My question was, Ms. Gordon, the battery family violence, do you have it as open?
I have it as open, yes, in Odyssey, yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. All right, Ms. Tortorello.
and just to add to what Ms. Gordon said, Your Honor, it is in fact, it states that it's opened under the MAGC number. However, the case had a CR number, 19 CR 007620D, and it involved the same victim, Your Honor, and the state did dismiss this case because we had no contact with the victim.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, we are recommending a $10,000 surety bond for the battery family violence. The conditions is that he have no contact with the victim, and her name is Sherry Cartwright. The first name is spelled S-H-E-R-R-Y, excuse me, Your Honor. Cartwright, the same spelling as the defendant. That he stay away from 3248 Verdant Drive, and that's spelled V as in Victor, ERDANT Drive Southwest, apartment 801 in Atlanta, Georgia. That he either do ADET or AA. The victim did tell us that he gets aggressive when he drinks, and therefore that's my reasoning for that, Your Honor. And no weapons, no drugs and alcohol, and no new violations of Georgia law. Your Honor, on March 28th, 2022, an Officer R. Smith of the Atlanta Police Department was dispatched to the incident location at 3248 Verdant Drive Southwest, apartment 801 in Atlanta, Georgia. And he was dispatched regarding a domestic dispute. Upon arrival, the officer made contact with the victim, Sherry Cartwright, who advised that she and her husband, defendant Raphael Cartwright, were in a verbal altercation that began around noon that day. The victim advised that she and the defendant have been married and living together since 2006. The victim advised that the defendant starts getting aggressive when he drinks and accuses the victim of cheating on him. The victim stated that on the incident date, the defendant became agitated because she was not answering his questions. The victim stated that he then struck her in the face with his cell phone, which resulted in her getting a laceration on her upper lip. The victim stated that the defendant then began to yell at her, quote, "I'm gonna fuck your ass, bitch. Shut the fuck up and be quiet," end quote. The victim stated that the defendant then began to throw items at her, such as a suitcase, a Lysol can, shoes, hot water, and other items. The victim said that the defendant continued to yell, and then he started to strike her in the face and torso with a closed fist. The victim said the defendant grabbed her keys to get her vehicle and went to the store, and that is when she went to the apartment leasing office. The victim advised the officer this has occurred a few times in the past and that she has called the police one other time. The officer then went to the apartment to speak to the defendant, who was detained. The officer asked the defendant what had occurred that day. The defendant stated that he and his wife were in a verbal altercation and that it was over, and that when it was over, he left and went to the store. The victim sustained multiple knocks and bruises to her face, along with scratches to her forehead and laceration to her lip. The victim was positively able to identify the defendant via a search of his Georgia OLN, and the defendant was arrested, and all these events did occur in Fulton County, Georgia. Your Honor, this case is actually under review for felony transfer as an aggravated assault due to the hot water that was thrown at the victim. The victim did express to us that it did sting. However, at this moment, she advised the victim advocate that she was not able to see any injury, but this is still under investigation. As far as the case that was dismissed, Your Honor, the 19 CR 007620D for battery family violence, it involved the same victim. It occurred on August 28th, 2019. The victim did admit to the Atlanta police that she was involved in a physical altercation with the defendant, but did not want to do anything about it at that time. The police did observe visible abrasions on her head and above her right eye, as well as a blood pooling on her eyeball, Your Honor. We are concerned, Your Honor, that if this defendant gets out, he's going to return to the incident location and intimidate the victim witness, that's his wife, and he knows where she lives. He's had a felony conviction, Your Honor, of possession of cocaine back in 1995 out of Miami-Dade County Clerk of Court in Florida. Like you've heard from pretrial, he has 9 cycles out of Florida and 2 cycles in Georgia. This makes him a multi-state offender, so he does pose a risk of reoffending while out on bond, and not only reoffending, but he poses a risk of committing felonies, Your Honor. And he also was arrested for possession of cocaine in 2007, Your Honor, with no disposition out of Florida. And this also goes to why we are recommending either AA or ADET while he's out on bond. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Raphael Cartwright is 48 years old. He has been in the Atlanta area for 3 years. He does have children, none of which are minors. He has been married for 15 years and with Miss Sherry Cartwright, the complaining witness, for over 20 years. Your Honor, we are opposed to the stay away at 3248 Verdant Drive. However, I was unable to contact Ms. Cartwright. I left a message for her to return my call. She has not. Therefore, we will defer to the court's ruling regarding the stay away. Mr. Cartwright is a high school graduate. However, he informs me that he is unemployed and has been so since February of 2022. Prior to that, he was working as a customer service representative for a health plan. Your Honor, he does not have the ability to pay bond. He is recommended for a signature bond. Therefore, I am requesting a signature bond on my client's behalf. With regard to Mr. Cartwright's history, we heard a lot about his history, but what I did not hear are convictions for violence. Your Honor, that case was the battery family violence case was dismissed in 2019. Your Honor, he denies these allegations. He states that he was acting in self-defense. He was blocking her from hitting him. Again, we are opposed to the stay away. We would ask the court to issue a no violent contact order. We are opposed to the ADET as well. My client does not have the means to afford that. And furthermore, there is no sufficient proof that he has an issue with alcohol. Just reminding the court that this complaining witness, and we do take battery family violence allegations seriously. However, Ms. Cartwright wasn't willing to come forth, and we do not believe that this dismissal should be held against my client, who is presumed innocent in this matter as well. Thank you, Your Honor.
Your
Thank you,
Honor.
Yes, Ms. Tortorella.
I apologize, Your Honor. We did hear from the victim. The victim said that she and the defendant have been married for 16 years, that they currently live together but share no children. She also stated that she does fear the defendant and does not want to have contact with him, and also wants the defendant to stay away from the residence, and that that he will need a one-time law enforcement escort for him to retrieve his belongings. The victim stated that the defendant has done this at least 4 times in the past, but she never pursued any legal actions against him. And the victim stated she was hit with hot water on her back that came from a kettle, and she felt stinging in her back. And the victim, like I told you before, could not see any injuries of the hot water at this time, Your Honor. Nothing further.
Okay, it's going to be a $2,000 good bond. No further contact with Sherry Cartwright. Stay away from the 3248 Verdant Drive, Southwest, number 801 address. He can go back to that address one time with a police escort to retrieve any belongings that he has there. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Cartwright.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, so we're going to go to South Annex, Ms. Chambers. Good afternoon, Ms. Chambers. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we are conducting by video to help prevent the spread of the virus. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Chambers, you've been charged in case 22 CR 001774G with simple battery. Is there a history, Ms. Gordon?
Your Honor, the GCIC indicates the defendant has no criminal history on file. She does meet criteria for unsecured judicial release through pretrial. Nothing further.
Thank you. Ms. Tortorella?
Yes, Your Honor. Let me pull up her case. Okay, for this defendant, Your Honor, the state recommends a $3,000 surety bond. The conditions is that she have no contact with the victim, Dwight Vincent, normal spelling, that she stay away from the incident location, which occurred at 250 Pharr Road. That's PHARR Road, Northeast, for the record, Unit 1212 in Atlanta, Georgia, 30305. That she have no weapons, no drugs and alcohol, and no new violations of Georgia law. And also that she have no contact with the party she was with at the moment, a Patrick Humes. And that's spelled Patrick. Last name is Humes while she's out on bond. Your Honor, on January 15, 2022, Officer E. Rodriguez was dispatched to a criminal trespass call at 250 Far Road Northeast, apartment 1212 in Atlanta, Georgia. The caller, who was out of state, advised dispatch that she could see an unknown white female in her unit and that she could see this on her camera. Upon arrival, the officer made contact with the victim, Dwight Vincent, who was the concierge at the incident location. The victim advised the officer that he gave access to the defendant, Bonnie Chambers. The victim stated that the defendant advised that she lived in unit 1212 and that she needed a spare key because she had lost it. The victim advised the defendant provided her license to obtain the key to the unit. The victim advised he received a call from the owner, victim Holly Morse, and that for the record is Morse, who advised the concierge that there was someone at her apartment and she could see them from her camera. Victim Dwight Vincent then went to the unit to confront the defendant about being in the property. The victim stated that an unknown white male, Patrick Humes, punched the victim in the right eye and they both began to fight. The defendant then jumped on the victim's back and began to choke him. The victim said he was able to get the suspects off of him and they both fled the scene in a white Mercedes box truck. The defendant's driver's license was recovered and turned into evidence. All these events did occur in Fulton County, Georgia. Your Honor, I understand this defendant has absolutely no record. However, this case is actually under review. We're looking at this as a possible burglary. And if that's the case, Your Honor, we will transfer this case up to the DA's office. And given the circumstances of this case, she went inside an apartment that was not hers, posing like it was hers. And then the concierge went to confront her. And then
I already said that, Ms. Tortorello. Yes, anything further?
Only, Your Honor, that we are concerned with the facts of this case, that you please impose a surety bond. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Barber?
I'm concerned with the facts being presented ahead of a bond hearing, Judge. She meets all the Ayala factors. In fact, she is a single mother of 3 in Athens. She participates locally in that community in Athens. She is the manager at a salon in Athens. My understanding, per Patrick Humes, who's not here today because we're not supposed to be presenting evidence, is that he was attacked by Mr. White. And that is defense of another, if that's the case. So the pontification that the state is trying to put on you is not fair here to my client, the defendant. She definitely meets all the Ayala factors, and I think she's worthy for a signature bond. As far as the stay away from that location, I mean, my understanding is she does own part of Unit 1212, which creates another issue if that is actually true. There's just a lot more going on here than Ms. Tortorello presented to you, which is what's creating a problem here, presenting evidence. So we would ask for a signature bond and release to pretrial services, Judge.
And Your Honor, my understanding is this is also a bond hearing, Your Honor. That's why we're having this hearing. And I, with all due respect to opposing counsel, if he can provide me with any sort of law that supports his argument that I'm not allowed to state what's on the warrant.
Okay, so it's gonna be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial. I don't know, no further contact with this Dwight Vincent. Given that I'm not sure whose unit it is, they'll have to deal with that in civil court possibly. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. All right, good luck to you, Ms. Chambers.
Thank you, Judge. That concludes my business. May I be excused?
Yes, have a good day.
Thank you, Judge.
Who do we have next?
Position 4, Mr. Fazio.
Good afternoon, Mr. Fazio. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we are conducting by video to help prevent the spread of the virus. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You've been charged in case 22 CR 001776A with battery family violence. Is there a history?
So record indicates the defendant.
Judge, hold on 1 second, please. This is Craig Lewis. I represent him. Hang on just a minute for me, please.
Okay.
I'm in a car, Judge, trying to handle multiple courts at the same time.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Judge.
All right.
The defendant has one cycle beginning in 2019 from the state of Utah. Last arrest was March of 2019 for purchase, possession, consumed by a minor, measurable amounts, and use or possession of drug paraphernalia in Utah County, Utah. According to the GCIC, Your Honor, that the plea was in abeyance. The date of that was July the 15th of 2021. Nothing further to add, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Tortorella.
Yes, Your Honor. For this defendant, the state's recommending a $4,500 surety bond. However, I'm not opposed to a signature bond. The conditions is that he have no contact with his cross defendant, which is Marcela Estrella, and the last name is spelled Estrella. First name is spelled Marsala for the record, Your Honor. That he have no weapons, no drugs or alcohol, and no new violations of Georgia law. Your Honor, on March 28th, 2022, around 1:10 a.m., an officer B. Maxwell of the Atlanta Police Department responded to 1089 Roxborough Drive Northeast in Atlanta, Georgia, regarding a domestic dispute. Immediately upon arrival, the officer noticed a Hispanic male and female in a verbal dispute in the street. The female cross-defendant, Marcela Estrella, a resident of Utah, appeared to be bleeding from the nose. Defendant Jaden Fazio, also a resident of Utah, was identified as an aggressor by an eyewitness on the scene, Mahid Malek. For the record, it's Majid, last name is Malek. However, the defendant stated his cross-defendant attacked him, and as such, both parties were detained and placed in separate patrol vehicles. Upon further investigation, the officer found out that both parties reside in the same residence in Utah. The officer first spoke to the cross-defendant, who stated that she and the defendant, her fiance, drove to Atlanta from Utah to meet the father of her daughter so that she could pick her up. They had a verbal altercation regarding that matter. The cross-defendant said she threw her purse at the defendant. However, the cross-defendant said it did not hit him, and then she pushed him all while he was driving. The defendant then punched the cross-defendant in the face. Defendant's story mostly corroborated with the statement of the cross-defendant about the reason they were in Atlanta. However, the defendant did state that the cross-defendant was intoxicated, and while he was driving, she became erratic, yelling and hitting him, causing him to stop and brake several times in an attempt to calm the cross-defendant before eventually stopping at the incident location. The defendant advised the officer that the cross-defendant attempted to stab him with a kitchen knife. However, he was able to disarm her and threw the knife into the bushes behind the vehicle. Both parties were arrested due to this incident, Your Honor. The knife was found behind the bushes, as the defendant did advise the officer. And the officer also found miscellaneous items on the floorboard, which corroborated with what the cross-defendant stated about her throwing the purse at the defendant. And all these events did occur in Fulton County, Georgia, Your Honor. And again, Your Honor, just given the facts of this case, with the state's not opposed to a signature bond, there's no FDAs and no violation of probations on his record. Nothing further.
Mr. Lewis, I take it you don't object to a signature bond through the jail?
Look, Judge, I was trying to find a way to object to it, but I just couldn't work it out of my brain. So no objection, Judge.
All right, $2,000 signature bond through the jail, no further violent contact with Ms. Estrella, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, good luck to you, Mr. Fazio.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Next, we have position 5, Mr. Fernandez.
That's mine as well, Judge.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Fernandez. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we are conducting by video to help prevent the spread of the virus. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Fernandez, you've been charged in case 22 CR 001778Y with battery family violence and simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Gordon?
The defendant has.
Judge, we're gonna wait. Judge, we're gonna waive sounding on a portion of his criminal history.
Your
Okay.
Honor, if I may, I would like to, because I'm going to use this for my argument, I'm going to go ahead and directly message you and the defendant about his criminal history. I'm not going to put it on the record, Your Honor.
Okay.
That's fine, Judge. If she would direct message me and you, that would be great.
Yes, Your Honor, that's what I
Okay.
said.
The defendant has 4 cycles beginning in 2021. Last arrest was February 18th of this year, out of, looks like it was by the GBI, but it's Region 4 in Douglas. I'm not sure if that's Douglas County, but that's what it appears to be. I will waive sounding, Your Honor. That case is open, nothing further.
Okay. Ms. Tortorella?
Yes, Your Honor. For the battery family violence, a $7,000 surety bond. For the simple battery family violence, a $3,000 surety bond. There'll be a total of $10,000. The conditions is that he have no contact with the victims, David Fernandez and Karen Fernandez, and Karen, for the record, is spelled C-A-R-E-N. That he not return to the incident location at 2520 Hamptons Run in Alpharetta, Georgia. That he take a 1-day anger management class, no weapons, no drugs or alcohol, and no new violations of Georgia law. Your Honor, on March 28th, 2022, an Officer Jay Goodwin of the Alpharetta Police Department was dispatched to 2520 Hamptons Run in Alpharetta, Fulton County, Georgia, in reference to a domestic dispute. While on scene, the officer learned the defendant, Nicholas Fernandez, had just moved back into the house 2 to 3 weeks prior. The defendant got into an argument with his mother, victim Karen Fernandez, about graduate school. The defendant slapped his mother across the face. Then the victim, David Fernandez, 18 years old, stepped into to stop the fight. The defendant followed his mother around the house to continue to the argument. The defendant and his brother then began to fight. The brother, victim David Fernandez, received 2 large lumps on his forehead, and he was able to fight his way away from the defendant. The mother, victim Karen Fernandez, was able to run outside. The victim, David Fernandez, was able to use an airsoft gun and fired it to the floor in order to scare the defendant away. The defendant came after the victim and they fought again on the stairs. The victim shot the defendant with an airsoft gun and had to jump over the stair railing to get away. The victim ran to the front door, which had been locked by the defendant after his mother ran out. As the victim tried to run to the front door, the defendant then dragged the victim back into the house. The victim was able to get outside to the car where his mother was already on the driver's seat. The defendant was able to get to the back seat and eventually got out on his own. Your Honor, we are actually sending this to review for felony transfer. There's in the fact pattern, I see elements of false imprisonment. And we do have concerns. He's due to his violent offenses on his record, which involve the GBI, that he poses a danger to the public, and not only a danger to the victims here, Your Honor, but a danger to the public. And he does pose a risk of reoffending. He has an open case out of Douglas County, Your Honor, which right there I could see that it's I can infer that he's violated his bond condition there. And for these reasons, Your Honor, we do feel that the surety bond of $10,000 is more than reasonable. Nothing further.
Mr. Lewis?
Going straight to the Ayala factors, Judge, yes, he does have the other case out there in Douglas County, although I understand that case is on the verge of being null-prized. And unfortunately, we don't have prosecutors from that jurisdiction here to offer any facts that you can rely upon as far as that case is concerned. But he does have it, and that much is true. Judge, he doesn't have any failures to appear. He's over a 20-year resident of the state of Georgia. Madam Prosecutor reports that there was an argument with his mother about graduate school. I know that he has attended some college, but I don't think he's quite ready for graduate school. So I'm gonna leave that alone. Judge, you didn't hear anything about the convictions. So what we've got here is we have a person who is called in, a private lawyer, who is called in to represent a person before you because of a conflict with the public defender's office representing that person. That conflict, of course, arises because the public defender represents somebody else on the other side of this case. So we'd ask, Judge, that you would do what you feel is in your discretion. Of course, as his lawyer in this instance, I'm going to ask you to give him a signature bond. I've explained to my client that might be questionable. So I would ask you to give the lowest possible surety bond that you feel comfortable with and impose the conditions you feel appropriate. Thank you.
Has anyone spoken to the mom and brother in the case, or the mother in the case specifically, to know what her wishes are? Does she want him back in the home?
Your Honor, the state has not been able to contact the victims in the case.
Okay. So for the battery family violence, it's a $2,000 good bond. The simple battery is a $1,000 good bond, making for a total of a $3,000 good bond. Until someone speaks to the mother, there's going to be no further contact with the brother, David, and the mother, Karen Fernandez, and to stay away from the 2520 Hampton Run address. He can go back there on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings if he has any belongings there. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. If either of you hear from the mother that, I know this is her son, that she does want contact, that I'm happy to revisit this in a modification.
Understood, Judge. I heard you to say $3K, good bond as a total, stay away, and no contact with either of the people purported to be victims.
Yes, and he can go back there if he has any belongings with law enforcement.
One time LOE. Thank you, Judge.
All right, good luck to you, Mr. Fernandez.
Next, we
And
have,
Judge, I apologize for my attire. I'm actually leaving Atlanta Municipal and headed to Clayton Superior.
That's fine. You're fine, Mr. Lewis.
Thank you.
Hey, good morning, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
Hey, my name is Shakir Youngblood, and I just wanted to let you know, can I tell you my status before, we start, please? I appreciate it.
Hold on for me 1 second, sir. I mean, tell me your name. What's his name?
position 12, Mr. Youngblood.
Okay, who's representing Mr. Youngblood?
I do, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Kim. Good afternoon, Mr. Youngblood. Let me just tell you first, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. We're doing this hearing by video, Mr. Youngblood. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yeah.
Okay. You've been charged, Mr. Youngblood, in case 22 CR 001769H with battery. All right. So I'm going to let you speak, but I'm going to let your lawyer speak for you. Okay. All right. So is there a history on this?
And the defendant has 23 cycles beginning in 2003. He's a multi-state offender with arrests from the states of Pennsylvania and Georgia. Last arrest was October of 2021 for entering auto, public indecency, and simple battery against a police officer in Fulton County. That case is open. That case is a probation case. Case 21 SC 179797. The defendant received 2 years, 7 months probation, March the 18th of 2022. Out of the state of Pennsylvania, there are 3 misdemeanor convictions: a 2014 resisting arrest, 2015 prostitution, and a 2017 disorderly conduct. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Ms. Mitchell.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Your Honor, in this case, the defendant battered Mr. Peter Trong, spelled Trung, by punching him in the face, causing bleeding and swelling to his ear, cheekbone, and nose. Mr. Trong was waiting in line at Sweet Hut Bakery, located on 935 Peachtree Street, Northeast, Atlanta, Georgia, when he saw a defendant asking people in line for money. A lady in line didn't feel safe. That's when Mr. Trong told defendant he doesn't need to beg people for money and that he needs to leave. During a verbal dispute between the two, the defendant punched Mr. Trong on the right side of his face, causing him to hit the ground. Your Honor, the state's bond recommendation is going to be a $5,000 surety bond, no further contact with Mr. Trong, a stay away from the Sweet Hut Bakery, a one-day anger awareness course, and no alcohol, drugs, and weapons. Your Honor, we are concerned defendant's risk of reoffending. He is a convicted felon for drug charges in Pennsylvania with 4 open cases in Pennsylvania. And those consist of entering auto, public indecency, simple battery against a law enforcement officer in 2021, aggravated assault, simple assault, recklessly endangering, resisting arrest in 2019, criminal trespass, criminal mischief, institutional vandalism, and terroristic threats, and more added to that in 2019, and then a possession of instrument of crime and institutional vandalism also in 2019. So he has quite a load of open cases in Pennsylvania that have not been taken care of. The defendant's also been convicted of disorderly conduct in 2017. We're concerned that the defendant is a serious flight risk here. He has 3 failure to appears in an escape charge in Pennsylvania. It appears he has fled from his open cases in Pennsylvania to Georgia. And he also has no sufficient context in Georgia, being that based on his criminal history, 22 out of his 23 cycles are in Pennsylvania. So he is a major flight risk. So based on that, Your Honor, we are recommending the $5,000 surety bond, nothing further.
Thank you. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Youngblood. He is 32 years old, and he said he has been here in Georgia from September 2021, and from October 2021, he was in jail for about 6 months. He does not have a family here in Georgia, and as soon as he got out of the jail, he found a job at Midtown Diner as a dishwasher, cook, and cleaner. He's been working there for only 4 days, and he really want to go back to work, and yet he is again arrested. He graduated from high school, and he wants to have a social worker services to continue his involvement at Gateway program that he has been having. He would like to find help to get a job. Ever since he was 6 years old, he had a huge brain damage when he was 6 years old. So because of that, he does have some medical concern. And I would like to recommend a behavioral health evaluation from social worker services for him. And since he has no financial assets to pay for any kind of bond, we would like to request for a signature bond, and yet we understand that court may not be inclined to grant signature bond because of 23 cycles in the past. We would like to request for a $1,000 maximum surety bond, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, so it's going to be $1,000 good bond. He's to have a social worker visit to see if he can get placed in Gateway with behavioral health evaluation. No further contact with Mr. Trong. Stay away from 935 Peachtree Street. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
So how can this bond paid?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Youngblood, you have a bond. If you have any questions, social worker services will be there for you. And you can also call me as well. I strongly recommend you not to speak about the case at all.
And if he doesn't get out, I'll see him back at the SAP calendar. And if you will have the social worker report to me at that time, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Good luck to you, Mr. Youngblood.
All right, so the social worker's gonna come talk to me, and I got $1,000 bonds, and what's the 10% of that?
That's correct, Mr. Youngblood.
All right.
Next, we have position 11, Mr. Young.
Good afternoon, Mr. Young. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we are conducting by video to help prevent the spread of the virus. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir, Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Young. You've been charged in case 22 CR 001768Y with battery. Is there a history?
Your Honor, the defendant has 27 cycles beginning in 2005. Last arrest was January 13th of this year for theft by shoplifting in Atlanta, Georgia. There is an open case, Your Honor, in Atlanta, Georgia as well for theft by shoplifting. Really, it's Fulton County. It's theft, it's financial transaction card theft. That open case is 20 CP 190865. In addition, there are 4 prior misdemeanor convictions outside of a 10-year period. There is a 2014 misdemeanor conviction out of DeKalb County for simple battery, a 2018 misdemeanor conviction from Fulton County for disorderly conduct, 2019 misdemeanor conviction from Fulton County for disorderly conduct, and a 2021 misdemeanor conviction out of East Point for theft by shoplifting, 3 FTAs, and 4 violations of probation within the past 10 years. In closing, Your Honor, there was a first offender out of Fulton County in 2009 for aggravated assault and terroristic threats, which was sealed in 2017. Nothing further.
Thank you. Mitchell?
Yes, Your Honor. In this case, the defendant battered Mr. Lloyd, spelled Loydd, Hughley, spelled Hughley, by striking him in the face, causing swelling to his eye and bruising to his nose area. The defendant and Mr. Hughley are former friends. The only time they ever see each other is on Cascade Avenue, which is where the incident location took place at 609 Cascade Avenue, Southwest Atlanta, Georgia. And Mr. Hughley stated that the defendant randomly struck him in the face at that time. The state's bond recommendation is going to be a $6,000 surety bond, no further contact with Mr. Hughley, a stay away from from Cascade Avenue, 1-day anger awareness course, and no alcohol, drugs, and weapons. Your Honor, our concern here is defendant's risk of reoffending, being that he is a convicted felon with a violent history. And I'm just going to highlight the violent history, some of which was already heard from pretrial. So that's going to be disorderly conduct 2019, disorderly conduct 2018, simple battery, battery family violence 2014, aggravated assault terroristic threats 2009, and 2 counts of battery family violence in 2009 and 2007. And the open case, as we've already heard from pretrial, for theft by shoplifting. Your Honor, the defendant is also a flight risk. He has 7 failure to appears and 7 probation violations. So based on that, we are recommending the $6,000 surety bond. Nothing further.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Mr. Young is 34 years old. He has been here in Georgia for all his life. He has 4 children. All of them are minors, 9, 10, 14, 16. He has parents and 2 brothers and 4 sisters here in Georgia. Also, he has been working at Walmart, stocking the stuff at almost about 6 months. So I don't think he will be a flight risk. He would like to stay here in Georgia. He has a GED, and about the case, he claims that he was not a first primary aggressor at all. He believes that Mr. Lloyd Hughley was a drunken man who attacked him first, so he was acting out of self-defense. He denies the allegations, and he would like to ask for signature bond. And yet, considering the past 27 cycles, we would like to request for the maximum $2,000 surety bond, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, so it's going to be a $2,000 surety bond, no further contact with Lloyd Hughley, stay away from 609 Cascade Avenue, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Young.
All right, thank you.
Next, we have position 9, Mr. Turner.
I'm sorry, I meant surety bond. Did I say surety bond?
Yes, you did, Judge.
Yes, you did.
I'm sorry, tell me again, courtroom 2.
Position 9, Mr. Turner.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Turner. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation calendar that we are conducting by video to help prevent the spread of the virus. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Turner, you've been charged in case 22 CR 001766B with criminal trespass and willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer.
I speak.
Oh, no, don't speak right now, Mr. Turner, because you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you, and you have a lawyer here that's going to speak on your behalf. And if you need to speak with her prior to me making the ruling, I'm happy to give you that opportunity, okay? Ms. Gordon?
The defendant has 9 cycles beginning in 2002. The last arrest was August of 2021 for a probation violation with the Department of Community Supervision. The underlying charge was not listed, Your Honor. However, the defendant received 15 days confinement and was to continue on the original probation. Record also indicates probation in Cobb County or out of Cobb County for theft by shoplifting. The defendant received 3 years probation, disposition date of May 11th of 2020. 2 misdemeanor convictions, one outside of the 10-year period for a willful obstruction of law enforcement officer in 2010, and a 2021 criminal trespass from Clayton County. Nothing further to add, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Mitchell?
Yes, Your Honor. In this case, the defendant criminally trespassed at Midtown Bowl, located on 1936 Piedmont Circle, Atlanta, Georgia, after being asked to leave several times due to suspected drug use and refusing. The defendant resisted when placed in handcuffs and put in the patrol car, and when he was put in the patrol car by kicking and biting. The state's bond recommendation in this case is going to be, as to count 1, a $1,500 surety bond, as to count 2, a $1,000 surety bond, totaling $2,500 surety bond, a stay away from Midtown Bowl and no alcohol, drugs, and weapons. Your Honor, we are concerned about defendant's risk of reoffending, being that he is a convicted felon who's already been convicted of criminal trespass before in 2021 and 2002. The defendant has also had his first offender act revoked and has 4 probation violations. So based on that, we are recommending this $2,500 surety bond. Nothing further.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Turner, he is 39 years old, and he says that he was actually playing a ball. He tried to play bowling at Midtown Bowl, and he does not understand why he was charged for criminal trespass when he was not actually trespassing. It was public place, it was during the daytime, and he feel like he has a right to be there. He has not had any kind of employment for the last 12 months, so he kind of has no financial means at this point, and he was born here, raised here. He has his 3 brothers and sisters here in Georgia. Even though he does not have a job, he has up to 11th grade of education, and he's not flight risk. He would like to request for a signature bond on his claim because he is apparently presumed to be innocent, and he has not had a job for the last 12 months. So we would like to request for a maximum of $500 surety bond. Thank you.
All right, so for each offense, it's going to be a $1,000 signature bond, making for a total of a $2,000 signature bond through the jail. Stay away from Midtown Bowl at the 1936 Piedmont Circle address. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Mr. Turner.
Yes, sir.
Turner, you know they don't want you back at that Midtown Bowl, right? You're not going to go back there, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so good luck to you, Mr. Turner.
All right, thank you.
Next, we have position 1, Mr. Burleson.
I'm sorry.
Good afternoon, Mr. Burleson. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation calendar that we're conducting by video to help prevent the spread of the virus. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, Your Honor. God bless.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Burleson, you've been charged in case 22 CR 001771C with theft by shoplifting. Is there a history, Ms. Gordon?
Yes, Your Honor. The defendant has 12 cycles beginning in 1994. The last arrest was November of 2015 for terroristic threats and acts. stalking, theft by taking, carrying a weapon without a valid license, first offense, and that was in Eastport, by the Eastport, Georgia Police Department. That case resulted in being a first offender case, 15 SC 139520, disposition date of February the 1st of 2017. The defendant does meet criteria for unsecured judicial release through pretrial. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Your Honor,
Yes, Ms. Gann.
I do apologize for interrupting. Mr. Burleson declined my services and he will be proceeding pro se.
Okay, Mr. Burleson, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present at these proceedings. We have provided you with the assistance of a public defender if you would like that assistance. If you want to proceed pro se, which is without the advice of an attorney, you have the right to do that also. You have an attorney who's willing to speak for you. So you tell me what you want to do, sir.
Your Honor, I would like to handle my case myself.
Okay, that'll be fine. Ms. Tortorella?
Yes, Your Honor. For this defendant, Your Honor, the state's recommending a $2,500 surety bond. The conditions is that he stay away from the corner market, which is located at 3332 Colville Avenue in Hateville, Georgia. And Colville, for the record, is C-O-L as in log, V as in Victor, I-L-L-E. That he do either an ADET or AA, no weapons, no drugs or alcohol, and no new violations of Georgia law. Your Honor, on March 28th, 2022, around 7:25 p.m., an officer, Kant Zader of the Hateville Police Department, was dispatched to the corner market at 3332 Colville Avenue in Hateville, Fulton County, Georgia, in reference to a theft. Upon arrival, the officer met with the store owner, Raji Daradia. For the record, that's spelled R as in Robert, A-J-I as in igloo, and the last name is D as in dog, A-R as in Robert, E-D as in dog, I-A, who stated a black male wearing a tan coat, navy blue hoodie, and a gray hat had taken a Colt 45 beer, the value of it being $1.95, from his store without paying. The store owner further advised that the suspect took the Colt 45 out of the refrigerator and walked towards the back of the store and then placed it in a white plastic bag he was carrying. The suspect then took another beer, Colt 45, out of the refrigerator, but this time he brought the item to the front of the counter and paid for it. The store owner advised that this was not the first time the suspect has been stealing from his store. The officer did review the video footage, in which he observed what the owner stated, that the suspect taking out the beer, concealing it in his white bag, and then taking out another beer and then bringing it to the front of the counter. The next day, around 1:49 a.m., the same officer observed the suspect matching the same description from the theft inside Hammers, a bar located at 898 Virginia Avenue in Hateville, Georgia. The officer detained the subject and conducted a pat-down, in which he did observe the gray hat in the suspect's pocket and the black sunglasses, all these items which matched the suspect in the video footage at the corner market. The defendant, Terry Burleson, spontaneously uttered, "It was only $1.65. Go find some real criminals." The defendant was placed under arrest. Your Honor, the state does believe that this is a surety bond is more than reasonable for this case. He is a multi-state offender. He has 1 cycle out of Michigan and 12 cycles out of Georgia. As pretrial has stated, his last arrest was in 2015. GCIC does not show disposition. It was for theft by taking and terroristic threats out of East Point. He also has a DUI arrest out of 2015 as well, April 12, 2015, which was dismissed. And then a theft of service out of Columbus, Georgia, Your Honor, the arrest happened in 1994, was also dismissed. He has violations of probation out of Clayton County back in 2003 and Fulton County back in 2008. And for this reason, Your Honor, we do feel a surety bond is more than reasonable for this case, Your Honor, and more specifically, a $2,500 surety bond. Nothing further.
Okay, it's gonna be $1,000 signature bond through the jail, stay away from the corner market, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
Your Honor.
Mr. Burleson, I'm gonna let you out, but you're gonna have to make sure to come back for your next hearing, and you can't go back to that corner market. You understand?
Okay, that's great. That'll be just fine, Your Honor. Are you saying I get a signature bond, please?
That's what I'm saying, Mr. Burleson.
Okay, yeah, no problem. I won't go back there. That's all. Thank you very much. See, I told you I could represent myself. Thank you for the blessing, Your Honor, and you have a great day.
Well, you do the same, Mr. Burleson.
All right, come on.
Have a seat over there.
All right, Charlie.
Not quiet. Judge, we're done. We're completed here in courtroom 2.
Okay, let's see. Everyone else is in the South Annex?
Yes, Judge.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it today.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Before you is position number 8, Ms. Yasmin Jackson.
Good afternoon, Ms. Jackson. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we are conducting by video to help prevent the spread of the virus. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson, you've been charged in case 22 CR 001762D with simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Gordon?
The defendant has 2 cycles beginning in 2019. Last arrest was January of 2021 for false statements or writings, concealing facts or fraudulent documents in matters of government. That case was open or is open. We being pretrial supervision was supervising that case under 21 CP 1969-58. Pretrial will surrender the bond today, Your Honor. Nothing further.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell.
Yes, Your Honor. In this case, defendant, 24 years old, battered her father, Mr. Shelton Jackson, common spelling, by striking him and spitting on him. The defendant got upset that Mr. Jackson didn't give her money, so she spit in his face, punched, and kicked him multiple times. Mr. Jackson had to hold the defendant to prevent her from harming him thereafter. Mr. Jackson told officers he loves his daughter dearly and would never do anything to harm her. He believes that the defendant was holding a grudge against him for being an absent father in her life, and that he wanted to make up for some of his bad parenting by spending time and money on his grandchildren. The defendant admitted to officers to striking her father first. The state's bond recommendation in this case is going to be a $2,000 surety bond, no further contact with Mr. Jackson, a 1-day anger awareness course, and no alcohol, drugs, and weapons. Your Honor, the defendant does have the open case as heard from pretrial, but the nature of the allegations is going to be the main basis of our bond recommendation at this time. Nothing further.
Is this your case, Mr. Lewis?
It is, Judge. Thank you, sir. Your Honor, you know, this young lady is 22 years of age, and Madam Prosecutor told you some of what occurred. I'm going to say it like this here, Judge. You know, you can't force yourself back into somebody's life after you've been absent. And so what the father has said here is that he was absent, according to what she just said. He was absent. He want to force his way in. He want to give money to the grandkids, and the daughter won't let him come into her life after he'd been absent. Now, Madam Prosecutor also said that my client admitted to punching and kicking and spitting and all of that, but she omitted to tell you that this person that laid these allegations is the person that's got the warrant on him right now running from the police. So I'm gonna put that out there because that's the other side of that story.
Your Honor, the state's gonna object at this time. This is not, the defendant before us is not the father. It is Miss Jackson. So we're gonna ask opposing counsel focus on that without wasting time.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. I have a Shelton Jackson, and you say it's not Shelton Jackson, Ms. Mitchell?
No, I'm saying opposing, the defense is focused on the father, but the defendant before us is Yasmin Jackson. So,
Oh, okay. Well, go ahead, Mr. Lewis.
Thank you, Judge. So what has been presented is one side, while the father continues to be a fugitive. That's why he's not in front of you right now. So Judge, based upon that, we agree 100% that there should be no contact between this person or the self-described absentee father. No contact whatsoever. That's what my client wants. And yet, according to the dad, he keeps trying to enter into her life. We, however, would ask the court in this particular case to give a surety bond. We understood from, I'm sorry, not a surety bond, but a signature bond. We understood from Madam pretrial about pretrial services surrendering on the other bond that they have. But if you give credence to the facts in the case, what it does not say in that warrant, Judge, is that the contact that is alleged to have been done by my client was without provocation. In fact, it starts to tell you some of the provocation and leaves the rest out. So for that reason, my lifelong resident, who is the mother of her kids, the attendant, not absentee, but attendant mother of her kids, who has raised her without the assistance of any grandparents, despite the fact that they want to come back in at a later time. Would like the court to give her a signature bond on this case right now. Judge, after today's date, this young lady won't qualify for free services because she is gainfully employed. She earns a living and a rather respectable living. So today we'd ask the court to give a signature bond on this case. The other bond, I understand, converts to but I don't know what it converts to in the new world of UJR. Might not convert to anything. And let this matter go on to be disposed of by the trier of fact.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lewis. Mitchell, go ahead.
yes, the state would like to add that based on the police report, the defendant and Mr. Jackson met up at a BP gas station located on 3263 Donald Lee Howell, Atlanta, Georgia. They agreed, the defendant and Mr. Jackson agreed to meet there so that Mr. Jackson could give the defendant money. And he did that. He gave her $40. And then he went inside the gas station, came back out. She asked for more. He gave her $10. She asked for gas money, so he gave her $10. And that wasn't enough. And that's when she spit in his face and proceeded to batter him. There are also witnesses that observed that and told the police that. It is in the police report. It is in the warrant. These are facts that can and should be allowed to be considered in such hearings.
Judge, since we're the movement for bond and get the last word, we would like to have you to rely upon the ones that are sworn in your report. And by Dad's proclamation, he keeps trying to get in. Whether he's stalking her at the gas station is in some police report, but it's not in the warrant. Thank you.
Okay, well, Ms. Jackson, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. Mr. Lewis is speaking on your behalf. In this case, you're going to be required to not have any further contact with Mr. Jackson whatsoever. I am going to give you a $5,000 signature bond through the jail. No further contact with Shelton Jackson. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Ms. Jackson, no contact means no contact whatsoever. No phone contact, no internet contact, no social media contacts, no contact whatsoever. You understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Good luck to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Judge, that's going to conclude my business before you today. There are two matters that you dealt with today that are actually D&Q, and I understand I need to send these hourly billings over to you. Can I send them straight to your email? Or do you want me to send it somewhere else?
Send them to Ms. Bridgewater, and she'll get them to who needs to get those, okay?
All right, Judge, I'll find out who her email address from Mr. Douglas in just a minute.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day, Judge.
You're the same, thank you.
Your Honor, what was her bond amount?
$5,000 signature bond through the jail.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
This will be through jail.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have position number 6, Ms. Fortson.
Good afternoon, Ms. Fortson. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we are conducting by video to help prevent the spread of the virus. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Fortson, you've been charged in case 22 CR 001775D with theft by taking. Is there a history, Ms. Fortson?
Yes, Your Honor. The defendant has 7 cycles beginning in 2012. Last arrest was March 1st of this year for a probation violation in Monroe County, Georgia. The underlying charge was crossing guard line. Record indicates probation, and it's under the first offender probation in Monroe County for crossing state guard line with weapons, intoxicants, drugs without consent. 4 years probation. The disposition date was November the 17th of 2020. 3 violations of probation within the past 10 years. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Mello?
Your Honor, the defendant has a $2,000 surety bond in place. However, the state is asking for a $2,500 surety bond. The conditions is that she have no contact with the victim, Douglas Keith, traditional spelling, that she stay away from the victim's home at 415 Fairburn Road, Southwest, apartment 1416 in Atlanta, Georgia. The zip code is 30331. That she take a theft class, no weapons, no drugs or alcohol, and no new violations of Georgia law. Your Honor, on June 21st, 2021, at around 5 p.m., an officer, L. Lawson of the Atlanta Police Department, was dispatched to the incident location at 415 Fairburn Road, Southwest, apartment 1416 in Atlanta, Georgia, in reference to a theft. Upon arrival, the officer made contact with victim Douglas Keith, who stated his caregiver, defendant Kashmir Fortson, stole his wallet and a hat with a marijuana logo on it. At that time, he stated he had $280 in cash, his Social Security card, and identification in the wallet. He told the officer he has difficulties in seeing, so he hired a caregiver through Abundancy Life Agency in May 2021. He told the officer that the last time he saw the defendant was about 2 weeks ago on June 12, 2021, and he told the officer the caretaker only worked 1 week for him. The victim further advised he called Abundancy Life and spoke to manager Miss Huma. For the record, it's H-U-M as in Mary A, who advised the victim to call the police and make a report. The victim stated he did search his apartment and did not find his items. On March 28, 2021, a Sergeant Bibbs of the Atlanta Police Department was advised that the defendant was in the Monroe County Jail and was being held. The defendant had an active warrant out of Atlanta for a theft by taken, and the defendant was transported to the Fulton County Jail, and all these events did take place in Fulton County, Georgia. Your Honor, this defendant has been convicted as far as posing a risk to reoffend while out on bond, and not only posing a risk, but also while out on bond, posing the risk of committing a felony, Your Honor. On February 6, 2017, she was convicted of aggravated assault and cruelty to children to the first degree out of the Fulton County Superior Court. And this offense actually occurred on November 23rd, 2012. I've looked at the case and her record reflects bench warrants for this case. The reason why she pled in 2017, her probation got revoked on this case on January 15, 2021 by Judge Whitaker in Superior Court due to a guilty plea in Monroe County. And as also you've heard, Your Honor, she does have violation of probation on a record by pretrial. And as far as the victim, Your Honor, we did have contact with him. The victim stated that he hired the defendant as a caregiver due to him being blind, that the defendant stole his wallet and it actually contained $850. And he has attempted to go back to the police department to correct the amount, Your Honor. And he did verify with our victim advocate that his social security card and his ID were inside that wallet, and he has not been able to get those back, and that his new ID did cost him $32, and he is seeking restitution, Your Honor, for all of it. For this reason, Your Honor, we do feel like a $2,500 surety bond is more than justifiable in this matter. Nothing further from the state.
Thank you, Ms. Tortorella. Ms. Gant?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Cashmere Fortson is 34 years old. She has been in the Atlanta, Georgia area her entire life. She has two sons, ages 12 and 13. She is the primary caretaker and is not receiving any child support at this time. Ms. Fortson, we are unopposed to the stay away at 415 Fairburn Road. Ms. Fortson no longer works for Abundancy Life. She has no reason to return there. We are also unopposed to the no contact order. Ms. Fortson completed high school. She also has some credits toward a medical assisting program. Your Honor, as we heard from the state, Ms. Fortson has been incarcerated for approximately 30 days for a probation violation. Prior to that, she had obtained a new job at Circle K. She had been there for about 1 month, and at this time she is uncertain as to whether or not she still has that job. It is unlikely based upon the time that has elapsed and her duration with the company. I acknowledge my client's history. However, we did not hear about any convictions for theft. My client denies these allegations. She states that the complaining witness, Mr. Douglas Keith, in his personal home, she found him to be engaging in behavior that she found offensive. She did not feel comfortable in that environment. She states that she informed her employer that she would not be returning. She states that Mr. Keith then in turn contacted Abundancy Life and stated that he wanted her to return because he left his wallet in her car. She states that, again, she denied, she has never had this person in her car, Your Honor. She denies these allegations, and she states that once she declined to return to that home, he then filed these false allegations against her. Your Honor, for these reasons, given my client's lack of ability to pay any funds, the lack of any convictions for any theft, we are opposed to the theft class. I am requesting a signature bond on Ms. Fortson's behalf, as she's anxious to defend against these allegations. And again, we are unopposed to the stay away and the no contact orders. Thank you, Your Honor. And also she states that she advises me that the 2012 case was, in her mind, she believed that it was dismissed, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, so it's going to be a $500 good bond, no further contact with Mr. Keith, stay away from the Fairburn Road address, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Fortson.
Next, we have position number 10, Ms. Woods.
Your Honor, I interviewed her, but she wanted to represent herself and do it as a pro se, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Kim.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Ms. Woods. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation calendar that we are conducting by video to help prevent the spread of the virus. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes? Okay. Ms. Woods, you've been charged in case 22 CR 001767C with criminal trespass. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present at these proceedings. For this proceeding, we have offered you the assistance of the public defender today. It's my understanding that you are declining the assistance of the public defender's office and you wish to represent yourself. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Ms. Gordon, is there a history?
Your Honor, the defendant has 25 cycles beginning in 1988. Last arrest was December of 2017 for terroristic threats and acts in Carroll County, Georgia. That case resulted in probation, 5 years probation, disposition date of June 18th of 2020. There's also an open case in Fulton County, interference with government property, simple battery against a police officer, police dog, or corrections or detention officer. case 20 SC 175320. That is on judicial hold, Your Honor. In addition, there are six prior misdemeanor convictions outside the 10-year period. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell.
Yes, Your Honor, the defendant criminally trespassed on the property of Georgia Building Authority located on 1 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive, Atlanta, Georgia, by remaining in the bushes and refusing to leave even after being given several commands and warnings to do so. The state bond recommendation in this case is going to be a $1,500 surety bond, a stay away from the incident location, and no alcohol, drugs, and weapons. The state's concern here is defendant's risk of reoffending. She is a convicted felon that's been convicted of criminal trespass and 4 counts of disorderly conduct in 2006. The defendant is also a flight risk, being that she has 6 failure to appear and 2 probation violations. So that's going to be the basis of our recommendation, Your Honor. Nothing further.
Okay, Ms. Woods, do you have a place to stay?
Yes, I have a place to stay, and I said 2 years in a motel. I'm rich and I'm not homeless, and everything they had against me, they lied. They come and got me that night because I was on a call. I have a call, and I was there because God told me to put my stuff there. They took me away. They took me away that GBA building because they tried to kill me with tackle like they did those things they stick you with. And they pulled me away from it. I told them I was coming out right there and then there, and I didn't come out. Because I told them I wasn't going to move because I was there for a reason. And I know why they done it, because every time something happened, they rob a bank and they just kidnap me and take me to jail for no reason. And all that stuff she said is lies that I didn't do, and I know about all that mess happening.
Okay, all right. Okay, Ms. Woods.
Yeah.
Ms. Kim.
Your Honor.
Yes, I know that you don't represent Ms. Woods, but I would like to have a social worker visit with her.
Yes, Your Honor.
So it's going to be a $500 good bond. Stay away from 1 Martin Luther Drive, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. I'd like a social worker to visit with her first.
Yes.
And she'll be back if she doesn't get out on the April 12th SAP calendar, where I would like to hear from the social worker.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Okay, good luck to you, Ms. Woods.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Have a good evening.
All right, bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Okay, Ms. Bridgewater is in court with me today, and as soon as she is ready, we'll go over the calendar.
Good afternoon. Again, the reset date for the SAP calendar is going to be April the 12th. Position number 1 is being reset further notice with a $1,000 SOB through the jail. Position 2 is reset to the SAP calendar with a $2,000 good bond. Position 3, reset further notice with a $2,000 SOB through pretrial. Position 4, reset further notice with a $2,000 SOB through the jail. Position 5 is reset to the SAP calendar with a $3,000 total good bond. Position 6 is reset to the SAP calendar with a $500 good bond. Position 7, reset further notice with a $2,000 SOB through pretrial. Position 8 is reset further notice with a $5,000 SOB through the jail. Position 9, reset further notice with a $2,000 total SOB through the jail. Position 10 is reset to the SAP calendar with a $500 good bond. Position 11, reset to the SAP calendar with a $2,000 good bond. And position 12, reset to the SAP calendar with a $1,000 good bond. Are there any questions, comments, or corrections?
Okay, if not, thank you all. We appreciate it. I hope you all have a good rest of the day. All right.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Your Honor.